Today on Exploring Scotland's History, we are heading for something different again. We are up on the Battle of Prestonpans viewpoint, and we're going to go and see a reenactment of the actual battle. Now, I drove from the west coast the whole way over here. Thought it was going to the battle site. I'm actually at the viewpoint. The battle site's there, so I might nip into the car and get closer to the coast. Known locally as the Pan's Pyramid or the Battle Bing, it's actually an old coal bing. A bing is the waste material which accumulates when mining for coal. Not gonna lie, we're here on the battle site. I'm heading the Jacobite direction. Ain't that a surprise? Hiya. On the 19th of August 1745, Prince Charles Edward Stuart raised his standard at Glenfinnan. The 1500 muster Jacobites were jubilant due to a victory in Highbridge a few days earlier. I'll put a link to the action at Highbridge here. In the coming months, the Prince would rally support for his campaign. Many small skirmishes, some successful, some not so much, would happen on his journey south. He would enter Perth on the 4th of September. Land communications between Edinburgh and the British forces were now effectively cut off. The Prince and his men lingered safely here, training, raising much needed funds and continuing the recruitment process. Charlie thought he would surprise Gardiner's 13th Dragoons 11 days later when he entered Linlithgow, but they had already retreated. The Jacobite army occupied the town and the old Stuart Palace, which must have further improved their spirits. Much ducking and diving followed, but on the 17th of September, the capital, Edinburgh, was secured. Huge crowds welcomed the Prince to his ancestral palace, Holyrood House.
And this is like a corn, just like you can get just dry grass, something like that. Oh, right. Something dry, usually fibers.
Sir John Cope had put to sea and from Dunbar moved out on the 19th of September, setting up camp in Haddington. On hearing that Cope was on the move, the Bonnie Prince held a council of war. He was dissuaded from leading an attack and agreed to command from the second line.
The information, gentlemen, is of such a state as to require an imminent decision, an immediate decision no less in fact. The confirmation of the information we received yesterday of Sir John's landing at Dunbar has been followed by reliable information that he has advanced as far as the town of Paddington. The question is, I've been musing on it for some time, I know you're familiar with it, but if he feels he's come to relieve Edinburgh. Well, we assume that is his intention to move on Edinburgh, but it's also equally possible that information that your men provided as to the potential for the Dutch regiments to land at Newcastle, or potentially at Berwick. He may rest at Haddington. If he is in Haddington and intending to stay in Haddington, then the delay only favours him, because it means that if those Dutch ships are in, then his strength will be, we believe, at least at some numerical parity with him at the moment. And if we do delay, then that advantage shifts.
What do we gain from delay?
We gain nothing from delay. The whole motion of this army has been forward. Forward is the only way, I think.
What hours the men depend upon moving forward, sir?
We have been promising them a battle for 4 weeks now.
It's not the artillery. You know yourself, sir, Highlanders do not like facing guns.
The firelocks taken in the capital have augmented our ability to stand on the field. So my suggestion, if you are amenable to it, is that instead of waiting for us to see whether General Cope advances from Haddington, is for us to march out to meet him. The only thing that is a defensible line between the capital and Haddington is the River Esk. So if he reaches Musselburgh and crosses the bridge there, then we are too late. We do not require to fight a defensive battle, we've agreed on that long since.
So the Highlanders' mode of fighting, sir.
Indeed. So we must, rather than waiting for him to be reinforced, or rather than waiting for him to come to us, we must go forward, we must clear the Esk, we must get as far along the road as we can towards Haddington, and if he is coming to meet us, then where the high road goes through the old market town of Preston.
That's near Trinent, is it not, sir?
Indeed. You're familiar with the ground of Trinent, I think.
To a degree, sir, yes.
Is there a suitable height from which we'll be able to approach and make a charge?
There is, sir. Close to the church, in fact.
The 20th of September would have been a long day for both armies. The British were in a stubble field, quite low and exposed due to the terrain being peppered by coal bins. The Jacobites in turn had secured not only the Bursley Ridge west of Trinent, but also the area surrounding Trinent churchyard. I suspect it was frustration at the obvious impasse that led to Cope ordering the cannons to be deployed that afternoon. The first casualties of war were the Camerons. The rest of the day was taken up with scouting, as the armies appeared cut off from each other by the boggy land that divided them. The Jacobites, however, would receive intel that there was a dry trackway through the marsh. The Prince decided that coming off the ridge to effectively force a battle would ultimately be worth the risk.
On such a point, I was speaking this morning with Secretary Murray, and I have instructed him to give direction to as many surgeons and physicians in the city of Edinburgh that he can, to have carriages and surgeons prepared. They will be required if there's an engagement, regardless of whether they're required by us or by others. So I think if we have that provision made, and then they can be summoned at a short notice, we'll have a man stand by ready to return to the city.
After all, sir, although they may be our enemy today, they are all your father's subjects.
Let the word along the line, and we'll leave this camp in good spirits. And with the blessings of God, victory for my father.
Indeed, sir. To your father.
To your father.
God save King James. God save King James.
They formed their battle lines at 4 a.m. on the 21st of September 1745. At 5 a.m, Cope's men realised what was happening and rushed to their positions, which were now facing into the rising sun. Once the firing started, there were breaks in the battle lines on both sides. Significantly, the British artillery crews fled, and the British dragoons quickly drew back. A general rout would follow, but it was all over in approximately half an hour. 50 Jacobites lost their lives, compared to 400 redcoats. Only the British cavalry escaped, all other men were taken prisoner. Colonel James Gardner would die of his wounds. Clearly this defeat of the British Army and the previous victory at Highbridge, along with other skirmishes, had Jacobites feeling boosted. The fact that the battles had appeared to be easily won must have given everyone a renewed confidence in their quest.
Oh, the Jacobites!
They're running away! They're chasing them! They're chasing them! The Jacobites are running.
The Prince would return to Edinburgh, where he campaigned until the 1st of November, when the Jacobite army would march south. I will put a link up now to a video I made in Derby, where I explore how far south the Prince travelled before being convinced to return north. Sir John Cope's misery, however, wasn't over yet. There was the matter of a court-martial. Although fully exonerated in court, his military career was effectively over. He was sent to Limerick in Ireland to deputise for the commander of the British Army in Ireland. Quite a famous song was written to honour the Jacobite victory in Prestonpans. "Hey Johnny Cope, are you waking yet?" is written in a derogatory manner, poking fun at Sir John Cope, who might have slept in and might have had to face a lot of his men running from the advancing Jacobites. It is still a popular song today. If you get the chance, go to a battle reenactment. It's really an immersive experience. The fabulous folk who provide the experience do so with great authenticity. You can smell the cordite, feel the deployed cannon shake the ground beneath your feet. The tent camp feels like you really are experiencing life in the 45. The reenactors are pleasant to chat to and keen to share their knowledge of a time gone by, a great day out that I would recommend highly. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and leave a comment. It really helps the channel grow. Feel free to join me on Facebook and Instagram, both of the same name, Exploring Scotland's History. Check out my sister channel, the Celtic She Shed too. I would like to thank everyone who has supported the channel through the coffee link. It is much appreciated. The links to the coffee page and my other history platforms are listed below. Until next time, thank you for watching.